Hey, how we doing, everybody? Matt here with OddsJam, and in this video, just giving you my favorite player props to lock in for Thursday night football. So we have just a riveting NFC South game between the NFC leading, mind you, NFC leading, so show your respects to the Atlanta Falcons, sitting at 4-5, tied with the division lead, tied for the division lead with the Buccaneers, and the Panthers sitting at 2-7. They had a nice, frisky 2 weeks when they traded Christian McCaffrey. They beat the Bucs. They spanked them, honestly, and they lost the following week to these Falcons in a game that they should have won. If you guys remember, it was that insane game that went into overtime where the teams just had a bunch, like 4 or 5 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes and 30 seconds of the game, something like that. A Hail Mary to should have been take the lead for the Panthers, but the DJ Moore threw off his helmet. Panthers missed the extra point, missed another kick in overtime, and the Falcons won. So less than 2 weeks later, these teams are playing again in the most Thursday night football game of all time between these two. So regardless, for this video, just giving out my favorite player props using OddsJam, using the positive expected value page to find valuable, profitable betting opportunities. So the first one I'm going to lock in here is this Marcus Mariota over 13.5 passing completions. This is at minus 115 odds at bet365. So this one I'm actually going to put a full unit on, which is $100 for me, putting a full unit on Marcus Mariota over 13.5 passing completions. So that one has been locked in. Let me just add it to my bet tracker real quick, make sure that you are tracking your bets. You can do so on OddsJam for completely free. Nice way to understand whether you're profitable or not. I'll start, I'll start with the handicapping first, because that is where I legitimately, if I am going to be honest, have a little bit of concerns for this one. Now, obviously, I trust the math, which I'll get into, but the Falcons are one of the most run-heavy teams in the NFL, regardless of whether they're winning or losing. Now, 14 completions is certainly not a lot, but Mariota has only hit this in 4 of their games so far this year. But with that said, if there is a little bit of positivity, he did hit it the last time they played the Panthers. So the Panthers, as big of a train wreck as they are, do a decent job stopping the run. So maybe the Falcons, even though they love to run the ball, maybe they don't run the ball as much because the Panthers are good at stopping it. So that's kind of the handicapping part of it. The math behind it makes it an awesome play, though. So that is why I am taking it and why I am putting a full unit, because the math behind it is great. So the no vig odds that you see here price this at about minus 120. This number comes from OddsJam backtesting thousands of betting opportunities, collecting millions of historical data points, trying to determine what sportsbooks do the best job at pricing odds. And then now that they have that information based on all that info, they remove the vig from all those sharp sports books using a weighted average. So this minus 119 or any number you see in the no vig odds column can be viewed as the true line of what a market should truly be priced at. And the goal is we're trying to beat the no vig odds, which is exactly what, any positive EV play that shows up on the screen is going to be positive EV. Just want to give you the math behind it. For this play specifically, like I said, the minus 119.71, essentially minus 120 is what the no vig odds price this at. And we can get it at minus 115 at bet365. So that's the math behind it, why I like this play. No vig line of minus 120, bet365, minus 115. So as I mentioned, any play that shows up on this page is going to be positive EV. But there's a couple of things that you can do on your end to make sure that you are placing the most profitable bets, right? And that's what I'm going to talk about now. So one thing that I like to do is if you click open a play, it pulls up where every sportsbook is pricing odds for that play, and you just want to see what we're looking for is the bet that we are placing. In this case, the minus 115 at bet365. Is this an outlier when you compare it to the rest of the sportsbooks? Generally, if there's one sportsbook that is an outlier to the rest, that sportsbook is incorrect, right? We see odds ranging from minus 115 all the way up to minus 145. It doesn't make sense. Well, I guess I should say one of those sportsbooks has to be wrong. For numbers to be that far apart, literally a 30-cent difference. If you're betting to profit $100, it's literally the difference between $30. If 2 sportsbooks have odds that wildly apart, one of them has to be incorrect. It doesn't make any sense if one of them is right or both of them are right. Like if one exchange is pricing a stock at $3.50 a share, another one's pricing it at $2.50, they can't both have the accurate price. So what we're doing here is we're opening up the sports books, and we want to see where they have it priced so we can tell, okay, is this Bet365 price an outlier or not? In this case, the answer is yes. Bet365 at -115. BetOnline, -130. DraftKings, -145. Caesars, -133. BetMGM, -145. The closest book is BetOnline, which has it 15 cents higher at -130. Now for player props, the three books that I like to look for, and one doesn't have odds for this one, is Pinnacle, but the other two, BetOnline and DraftKings. I will say DraftKings does a pretty good job specifically with player props. So we use DraftKings as one of the sharp books that we kind of use to set the line. -130, -145, pretty decently priced above the -115, as more favorable than the -115. And for some plays, you can open the event page in a new tab, and you just want to see where other sportsbooks price it. And we actually can tell Pinnacle prices this a full completion higher. And that's actually a big deal. That one completion is almost like a 10% difference from 13.5 to 14.5. So Pinnacle pricing it one completion above at 14.5 is actually a good sign for this play. I mean, there's been a couple times this year where Mariota landed at exactly 14, which misses the Pinnacle's under for Pinnacle, but over the play we're taking. So even though Pinnacle favors the under at 14.5, that doesn't scare me off because that's a pretty big deal. Getting even one completion difference is a pretty big deal. So all in all, I like this one a lot. I put a full unit on it. Marcus Mariota over 13.5 passing completions. The next one I'm going to lock in here is the Kyle Pitts under 3.5 receptions. So I know it kind of seems a little bit like against each other, backing Mariota completions over with Pitts receptions under. But for those of you that have been following along or play fantasy football know that Pitts has been a horrible disappointment this year. He's been awful. So him going under makes a ton of sense from handicapping because they just don't use him. They just don't use him. I would like to put a unit on this one, but Tipico has me limited. I'm not even going to be able to get 50. The most I've seen them let me get is like 750, which is rough, but that looks like to be what I'm going to get on this one. But for those of you at home, this is another play that I think is worth a full unit. So two plays, both of them worth one unit. We can chat about this one. So the odds, no big line at about -111. If you want to round up, -110.7 if you don't. So the gap between those two numbers, positive EV. And again, look across the board where all the other sports books price it. Tipico at -110. No book has it in the teens. You can ignore this PrizePicks one because PrizePicks is a DFS company. They have the same implied odds for every single play. So you can ignore that. The rest of the books that actually are pricing odds, mostly in the -120s, with Pinnacle actually being the most favorable at -136. But BetOnline, -125. DraftKings, -125. All priced pretty significantly above the -110 that Tipico is giving you. So I like this one a lot. Kyle Pitts under 3.5 receptions. He's been awful all year except for I think 2 games. He's had what you can qualify as a good game. They just don't use him. I don't understand why, but they don't. So I like this one. And those are going to be my 2 plays for player props specifically for Thursday Night Football tomorrow. Let me know if you're tailing them. Comment on the video with your feedback. But that's all I got for you guys. So thanks for watching and have a good one.